Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our live session today. My name is Larissa. I'm an event planner at Reactor, joining you from São Paulo, Brazil. Before we start, I have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. This session is being recorded and will be available to view on demand here on the Reactor YouTube channel within 48 hours. Keep an eye on the chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions so our moderators can answer you in the chat. I'll now turn it over to our speakers for today. Thank you, and let's welcome them here.
Hello, everyone. Hi there, Marcus.
Hello, Johan. How are you doing?
How are you doing? Right now, I can't hear you, but so we're back to what we had as a problem earlier.
Okay,
but,
you cannot hear me. Okay, this is not so good then.
Well, let's first of all.
You talk.
we do have some technical difficulties here,
Shall
but
I continue
let's
to
see
talk?
if I can get this up and running anyways. So
yeah. No, I lost contact,
all,
but I'll see you again.
Let's have Marcus present himself.
Yeah, hello, this is Marcus Ehrenmüller. I'm based in Austria. What I do is I transform raw and dirty data into advertising data, and which makes interesting things for to analyze it. I'm not sure if lost contact. I see I'm live, so we have some technical issues, obviously. Okay. Johan comes back in soon. Okay, have some technical issues. Sorry for that. So I'm also confused now. Johan can hear me again. I hope so.
I can, yes.
Very good, very good. Luckily enough, we're all professionals, so we can adjust with the situation. Yeah, I just introduced myself here. So Johan, who are you? For people who don't know you.
Well, let's see. Now I have my screen showing as well. Yes, my name is Johan. I'm from Norway, a Microsoft Data Platform MVP, just as Marcus, and I work for a company that is so new that we don't really have a proper name yet, but we're called Tower Newco at the moment. You can see my contact details there as well. Working with AI for a bit, working with data for a long time, both as an analyst and developer and architect and everything. I mean, I can't really cheat on my age with this beard. Yeah, that's even though people call me Santa, at least during November and December for some reason. Right. We also have some moderators. Olajide Idowu and Valerie Yonk. So they're live in the chat. They're just typing very furiously, whereas we can just raffle around and talk, which is a nice.
Keep them busy with the questions, right? Putting questions so they do not bore themselves. Yeah.
So because you guys love Fabric day-to-day so much, Microsoft is now introducing it monthly. And I mean, for those of you who are familiar with the chat, you will see the fabulous Pam also in the chat, and she's really one of the big people behind Fabric Day-to-days. So we're good doing it monthly. We'll be hosting monthly sessions discussing hot topics on data and AI. So make sure that you register for the entire series so that you don't really miss a session. So we had this is 22nd, isn't it? It is.
Yeah, it looks like yeah.
It's actually my brother's birthday. I need to remember to call him later on. So yeah, we had a session yesterday about working with Fabric. Now it's data and working as a data analyst in AI, and then next week getting certified, so DP accelerated, and then February 3rd, so that's week after, you get getting certified as a data analytics engineer, and then a 4-session series beginning. So use the ak.ms/fabric-search/live to register for the entire series, or you can use that QR code. Power BI database. Are you going to be running for that World Championship, Marcus?
I did not yet. I always like have an eye on those contests, but was too busy in the past. But hopefully, in some time in the future, I can also be part of that championship. Sounds interesting. Challenging.
It sounds interesting. I mean, honestly, personally, I cannot get a good data visualization to save my life. I'm better on the data modeling side and the analytical side, but data visualization is not my skill. So I'll leave that to Valerie.
Be interesting. Yeah.
It could be interesting or it could be horribly boring. At least I will try to avoid pie charts. So there are 3 preliminary rounds, and then the finals will be held live on stage at FabCon in Atlanta. And I will try to be there because I will be in Atlanta myself. Not sure if you're doing Atlanta, Marcus?
No plans. No plans currently.
No. I always wanted to go to see the Coca-Cola Museum, so maybe I can do that while I'm there. But yeah, so we are now on round 2 of the database. Go to the QR code or go to the aka.ms/PBIDVWC26. That's a mouthful. And you can then learn more there. And of course, there are certification vouchers available for you. There's a big, nice QR code there. You can scan them. Remember, the supplies are limited, and you are not guaranteed to get one. But if you're fast, you can enter, and if you're lucky, you get one. Fingers crossed.
There was somebody on LinkedIn, like I've seen the post about this this event today, and they asked, will there be vouchers? And I was not sure if I can announce it or not. So just say, you should be there, right?
Yeah, wait and see.
The person can see it. Yeah, wait and see. Now the person could see, right? Yes, there are vouchers.
Right. So FabCon, as we mentioned on the database competition, will be live on stage. But FabCon itself will be March 16th to 20 in Atlanta. Hopefully it will be warmer there than it is will be in Norway. So I'm looking forward to that. But 200 plus sessions on Fabric, Azure AI, databases, Power BI, and Microsoft Purview. And if you do the Fab Live code, you will get a $200 discount, which is not bad.
No. Good thing.
But now, Marcus, this is the core content. This is why we're here. Talking about how to work as a data analyst in the era of AI. So we'll try to cover a bit about how AI is reshaping the analyst's toolkit. It's not going to reshape our world just yet, but it will be reshaping our toolkit and then opening doors for deeper insights. Did you say anything, Marcus? I missed that.
No, I just agreed. Yes, it will not totally change everything, but it can assist us, right? And that's what we will see in the demos. We can use AI to help us now deliver, to be faster, be quicker with things.
And have more fun. Well, that's the important part. Right, so today's session will be covering the welcome and context. So why does it matter? And why are analysts still essential? And then we'll do some level setting about AI and analytics, high-level overview of what AI is, different types, some common topics that we need to talk about. Then diving more deeply into the AI experience sharing. So Marcus and I will be talking a bit about how we use AI and what we think about it and what it helps us with and what it doesn't. And then we'll do some key takeaways and some inspirational things for you. Do remember that this is live and interactive. So say hi and ask questions in the chat. And as Marcus said, bombard the chat with questions so that the moderators will be getting all the hard work.
Exactly. And best regards from us, because we cannot see the chat, right? We cannot chat with Valerie and Ochadi, but then the best regards from us, right?
Yeah. So Marcus, why should we care about this? How is AI changing analytics, you think?
Yeah, it will. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, will not take our jobs, but somebody might using it, and he or she might then use take our jobs. And I'm not always happy with the naming Microsoft comes up with the products, but I really like the name Copilot because it's exactly to the point what these features are. Right? It's a Copilot. It's not a pilot. You're not sitting in the back seat and let the pilot drive your things, do your analytics, write your code or whatever, but it's a co-pilot. So it's like a buddy sitting next to you with who you can talk about and ask questions and get ideas and speeding up things. If you already know what the correct thing is. So if you're an expert in something, Copilot, all the elements, that's what those pie charts there. Can you still hear me, Johan? I could see those pie charts. I'm not sure if I lost.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
it's a bit garbling, but I could hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what I said is like the Copilot will assist you in making things fast. So if you're an expert in something, then LLMs will help you in being fast in what you're doing because you know exactly what you do, and instead of like repeating things or doing things manually, those LLMs can help you in changing the code, editing something for you, finding out something about texts. This is what the LLMs are, right? I think the biggest mistake you can do is that you think that the LLM is smart. They're not smart. It's just a text generating tool, right? They're very good in generating texts in different languages, may it English, may it be Norwegian, may it be German, or may it be C# or DAX or Power Query or SQL or Python, all those things. This is what they're very good at. And if you use them for those purposes, they will be a good thing. That's what it's my take on all those LLMs.
Yeah, I heard somebody saying that this is a next token generator because it's statistically trying to find out what's the most sensible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So they have a question, then find out what's the highest probability it makes sense to put the next word into there. This is what it is, right? It's not smart in the sense of that's very intelligent. And I teach in evening classes and also taught like in schools as a part-time being beside my job as being a consultant. And sometimes the answers I get from those LLMs, they really remind me of my students when they write their thesis or do their homework. So sometimes it really sounds very smart, but sometimes it's just wrong. And that's the dangerous thing. That's what I meant with if you know something about something, if you're an expert there or like have a certain knowledge, then these tools can be of help. If you're not sure about the topic at all and have really to trust what the tool is returning, this might be dangerous. This is my take on that.
Yeah. So it's you should care because AI can make your life easier if you know what you're doing. It can support you. It can, as you say, I also have my gripes about naming things in Microsoft, but Copilot is spot on. Even though I sometimes tend to say that the generative AI models are a drunk buddy that you can spar with, but you can't always trust what they're saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So I see there was a question coming in from Roberto Solano. Are we going to be using Microsoft Data Formulator tool today? I hadn't planned to. Did you?
No. Sorry.
So sorry, Roberto. Yep. Sorry, we're not going to be using that. All right. And yes, I just noticed a comment on my slides here that the AI won't take your job image is generated by AI, and that was not surprising. There's something about AI images, but I do use them. I actually do use them in my presentation slides because I'm not a very as I said about visualization as well, I'm not a very visual person. So using some AI or other images that I'm allowed to use actually then makes it prettier, I think. Hope. Yeah. So some simple introduction or an introduction to high level to AI and then of course analytics. So Marcus, you've been mentioning LLMs. I didn't put that on the slide here, but an LLM, large language model, is, as we say, next token generator, guessing statistically what's the most probable word that comes up. Can also then be that it does something wrong and hallucinates, as we call it. But it is what we called AI, or artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence as such is the concept of creating machines that can mimic human intelligence and perform tasks that require, or what we think or suppose requires, human intelligence. Some of you who have been in the game for a while, you might have heard about machine learning before, or you will see machine learning popping up. And for some reason, machine learning tends to be seen as something completely different. But machine learning is one of the key methods to teaching machines how to learn, and then again, how to think. So machine learning is a method of helping the AI evolve. And then there's a lot of talk about vectors and vector databases and so on. And vectors are a mathematical construct, and they are the numerical translation that allows the machine to compare, analyze, and learn from data. So creating vectors of things that might look similar. For instance, a cat and a dog are both quadrupedal, 4 legs, whereas a human and a monkey is bipedal. So that might be one of the things that a vector that is being created to differentiate between the number of legs and number of arms and so on. And it allows AIs to convert real-world objects, such as images or pictures and so on, and then get that into a format that can be understood and manipulated by the AI or the machine. Because again, machines are using binary. That's all there is. So making sure that they can then understand these topics properly, as well as, of course, when we're dealing with language, your natural language interaction or prompting with the AI is also made easier by putting in vectors of the data that we have. So it makes it easier for the machine to respond properly.
There's a question,
So,
maybe we can, there's a question from Roberto, which I can answer. So maybe we can just squeeze it in. So the question from Roberto is, which Power BI subscription is needed to use Copilot integrated on the tool? How are you using it currently? And back a year ago, I think it was only included in a capacity F64, but recently they changed it down to F2. So the cheapest capacity you can buy already includes Copilot. So it's not included in the Pro license, not included in the free license. So if you just download Power BI Desktop and use it, you can use it for free, right? But Copilot is not integrated into it. If you buy Pro license to have this Pro workspaces, like the pay per user, it's not integrated. But if I rent a capacity, the smallest t-shirt size is F2, the Copilot is included. So hopefully, I'll be something with Roberto.
Just a point on that as well. Remember that Copilot does consume capacity. So on an F2, that might be 1 question per hour, but depending on what kind of load you're doing. However, Microsoft has done something interesting. They've launched what they call a Copilot capacity, which means that you can have 2 capacities. So one is purely Copilot, one is Fabric related. And then you can have workspaces that are only Pro license. You can have workspaces that are Fabric capacity dedicated. but the user is assigned to that Copilot capacity, they can then interact with all of them without any problem. Whereas if you're doing a Copilot on the same capacity that you're using as for Fabric, then you can only interact with the Fabric enabled or the capacity enabled workspaces. So that's something to keep in mind. And yeah, he also says, how are you using it currently? Currently, I'm not really using it myself. I haven't really set it up for production yet. It's more like playing around with it. But normally I just use it to play around and see if I can understand the data that I have. How about you, Marcus? Have you tried it?
I haven't tried it. What I use, and that's what the demonstrations are about, is like the free tooling, like for example, ChatGPT, to generate some text translations, code, and so on, and then take this as a starting point to put it further.
Yeah,
that's what I do currently with those tools.
Right, back to what AI is, because it's not just one thing, even though, I mean, at least in my job, I meet a lot of people who talk about AI, but what they're talking about is just generative AI, at least after ChatGPT was launched. So it is a broad spectrum. Again, as I mentioned in the previous slide, it's making machines mimic human intelligence. So you have things like predictive AI, which helps us to forecast trends, detect anomalies on data. So it is very useful for those specific use cases. Then you have the generative AI, which, as we've already mentioned, it can generate new content. We've talked about language, but it can also generate new images and new videos. Well, we did mention the images as well. Even code, because code is language. And finally, you have automation AI, which then focuses on streamlining repetitive workflows so that you and I can work faster and smarter, hopefully. So yeah, AI is more than flashy tools. It's about enabling us to see patterns, generate ideas, and automate basic tasks, making us more suited for the fun parts of our job, yeah? But today we'll be mostly talking about generative AI because that's, again, it's what most people talk about after ChatGPT. And for our purpose here today, what AI can help us with as an analyst, it is generative AI that is helping us. So generative AI can summarize, it can do drafts, it can brainstorm, it can create visuals, but it can't replace human judgments. It can't understand contexts very deeply, and it can't guarantee accuracy because it is the next token generator. It will statistically guess what is, or calculate what is most probably to be the next word, but that does not imply a guaranteed accuracy on what that next word will be.
And even if you ask the same question or put the same task, right, the result could be slightly different every time you do it. Yeah. So there's no accuracy or constant output for a given prompt.
And I've seen it being wildly wrong, giving up both code samples or libraries that don't exist, or generate use cases that wouldn't never work, and so on. So it's it is a Copilot. It's not you can't have it as pilot.
Yes.
But some very good use cases for us: report summaries, narrative generation, quick mockups. These are just some of the use cases that can help us as analysts during our workday. Right, so we've covered generative AI, but let's look at the AI that's built specifically for analytical workflows, what we'll call analytic-focused AI. And some of these capabilities are designed to help us uncover patterns and insights faster. So think about predictive modeling, so that you can forecast trends, anomaly detection, to spot outliers. And of course, it makes good sense that Microsoft have included anomaly detection as pre-built functionality inside Fabric Real-Time Intelligence. And then you have automated insights that surface key drivers in your data. And of course, you have the natural language queries, which lets you ask questions in plain English and get proper, or most likely proper answers instantly. So they don't replace analysts, they just amplify our job, or they amplify what we can do. So that they take care of heavy lifting. I've spent some hours browsing through logs or huge CSV files to spot errors because of a CSV file, or it's not comma separated, it's separated by a tab or something like that, and finding the right one. Having AI do that for me is a lifesaver, basically. I don't know, have you tried that before, Marcus?
I did it recently for a customer. Where I discovered by chance that there was a metadata translation for Power BI, and there was like for the same technical name, there were the two things were the same translation to the German language. I mean, finding this out manually is sort of impossible, right? There's I think hundreds, thousands of measures and objects in there, but having some tooling like AI, ChatGPT, whatever you put in there, it's like, show me where there's duplicates, it instantly comes up with that. So this is really, again, a lifesaver, right? So there's really sweet spots with that. This doesn't do everything, right? But there's sweet spots. If you know that there's a JSON file, right, and you know there's a translation in there, so you know what to look for, and then you can direct the tools for that without writing any code, right? Of course, I could also write some application in C# or PowerShell or whatever, and then loop through the file, but just putting this to ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever, talk to it, and then it will discover those duplicates. And I have some demo for that even prepared, right, to find something like this. This is easy to do, no brainer.
Yeah. So I saw that we got a question from Mohammed Abdulaziz Galal. Would you provide more about Copilot capacities that can be used for demonstration and also for production workloads? I'm not sure exactly what the question is.
I think you mentioned that there's a Copilot capacity, or you can assign a capacity to Copilot. Maybe this is the question about. But it's not a special capacity, right? It's just an F2 capacity, which you assign either for workloads or for Copilot. This is what you explained, right?
Yeah. But I can mention that, again, when you're creating a capacity for Copilot in Fabric, what you'll do is you'll assign the created capacity for Copilot, you'll dedicate an admin to that, and then that admin can add users from within your tenant to be able to use Copilot on top of whatever Fabric workspace they're in or whatever Fabric object they're in. So that can be used for production workloads, and it can be used, and it is very good for production workloads, because that means that you can make sure that your production workload capacity units are spent on what it should be doing, the production, and not on whatever questions that Sam in marketing had, or Marcus in development, or Johan in development, or something. So yeah, it is a very good thing that they added this. I'm really happy with it, because it does allow us to isolate one of the big consumers potentially in Fabric.
Because it's very important that the report run, right? I mean, it can be important that you can ask questions, but it's more important that the reports can run. And if you eat up all the capacity by asking questions to Copilot, and then there's no capacity spent left for the reports the CEO is waiting for, this would be a bad thing, right? It's a really good thing to divert and distinguish between different capacities you're having. Spread out the word. Other than that, I mean, Mohammed also mentions the demonstration and production workloads. If you sign up for the trial, the Fabric trial, it's behind the scenes, and it's in the F64, or it was for a long time.
I think
this now. Yeah, but
I think
the Copilot is not available
now.
Yeah, okay, but there's no Copilot assigned for it,
no.
so you cannot try out Copilot for free. You have to at least sign up for an F2. And you, by the way, you can like turn it up and turn it down again. So you don't have like to spend a certain amount of money for the next year, but you can just spin it up and spin it down again. So this is serverless. Just to try out the Copilot, you can just use an F2 for that and spend a couple of dollars or euros or whatever your currency is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be expensive.
Worth trying out for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is.
The F2 is quite cheap.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And this is part where we want to emphasize, both me and Marcus, I think, analysts are not going away. And feel free to chat about that in on the live stream and pester the moderators, of course. But yeah, we are not going to be out of a job anytime soon. So AI is very powerful for the things that it can do, but it does have those limits. And I mean, analysts shine in those periods because yes, we can do human judgment and decision making. That is not part of the AI's job. We do business context and domain expertise typically, ethical oversight and governance definitely, and storytelling and communication. I mean, some are better than others at that. I mean, I'm not that good at storytelling, but yes. So Marcus is better, I think. But yes, so all of these things are things that we do, the humans. I read an article that talked about Kentors, and Kentors being the human head on top of a machine body, which is kind of what we will be doing here, but also what you do when you drive a car. You are the Kentar, or the head driving and letting the engine and the car do the working for you. Versus a reverse Kentor, which was another topic that I had, where the machine is the head and the human is the body, which is no fun. But the analysts are definitely the Kentors in this. So future is not about replacing analysts. It's about us as analysts being able to use AI to amplify our impact. So data without context is just noise.
Yes.
And as analysts, the tools that we use are evolving, but the core skills that we have will be evolving as well. But they are what makes us valuable. So the core skills that will set you apart in the era of AI, what do you think, Marcus?
All of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely critical thinking.
Yeah.
So interpret data beyond surface level patterns, diving deeper into them. Because AI can give you the answers, but it can't tell you if those answers are correct or make sense. Storytelling. Making sure that you can communicate the data or build that story that people understand and trust the data to drive the decisions. Prompt engineering. Prompt engineering isn't a new skill, sort of. Learning how to communicate effectively with the AI tools. And if you look at what some of these thought leaders say, you will have to almost be like a magical or a wizard to describe the spell, and then something magical will come out on the other end. I'm not really that much. I mean, in my experience, prompt engineering is a skill that might not necessarily be that important. Use that. Think about how you phrase your question so it's as specific as possible. But you don't have to say that you think about yourself as a Power BI expert first. It's just making sure that you have the right demanding, the right skill spec or the right demand specification to the AI. These are the things I want you to give back to me.
And you can even use you can also write a prompt, right, to ask the LLM to give you a prompt for all the things you just asked for, right? That's what I usually do. So if I write discuss with the LLM because it's getting me a result, but it's not quite correct, so I try to adjust those things. At the very end, I try to remember that I put, please give me now a prompt to directly next time I want to directly get everything which I just got, right? They get a long prompt, and this is what I save them and can reuse for the next time. Doesn't mean that the next time.
Do you say please?
Yes.
And thank you.
Sometimes I do. For some of my tasks I save those prompts I got back. If I reuse them the next time, doesn't guarantee that they get the result as expected. There might be some other mistakes or some other different interpretations or some details missing out or whatever. So that's what I mean. It's not constant. So it's not that you ask something and you get always the same back. So if you do this like several times a day or over weeks or months, the result will always a little bit different. Even if you stick to the prompt you saved, this is very sort of funny, whatever. Yeah, this is how the tools work. Right? They're not smart. They're just obviously there's some randomness in this text, and you can even see, right? Sometimes at the end it asks you, do you want to need it like in this version or another version or whatever? So they can generate the text in as a poem or like make it more technical or add some other things or remove things or whatever.
But do you say thank you and please?
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I'm not burning any. So, sorry, I did interrupt you with the question, right? So that's what you wanted to ask. No, I don't say thank you and ask. I just give me or something more command thing.
Give.
Yeah.
Give. I sometimes say thank you and sometimes I say please, but
okay.
But I think it's it doesn't really impact. It's just because it's ingrained, not muscle response or whatever. Yeah. All right. So how do we use AI? So tooling. What kind of tooling do you use? Because we do have the general LLMs, we do have coding LLMs, we have agents. Sorry. What tools do you use, Marcus?
Yeah, I'm not a coder, right? So I'm to all the things I needed in the past. The free version of ChatGPT worked for me. So that's what I'm using, an LLM, and that's ChatGPT. And so far, I could achieve mostly what I wanted to achieve. I know people experimenting with Claude and other tools there in Gemini. I don't have experience with these. Maybe I need to again sit down sometime and then like try the same prompt with different tools and find out what would be the edge case or what kind of tooling would be better for different tasks. So I don't have the overview currently, and yeah, let's see how this evolves over the time.
Yeah, so I have several different ones. As part of my actually I'm one of those people who've moved away from Google and are using, or sorry, we're in Microsoft Sphere, so I moved away from Bing. I'm going over to paid subscriptions. I'm using a product called Kagi, Kagi, for all my searches. But they also come with an LLM assistant, and that assistant has 20 different LLMs available to me, so I can just pick and choose, and they have a recommendation of, okay, if you're going to be using a cheap tool, this is really good for coding, this is good for thinking and text and so on.
Okay.
So I've been really using that a lot for the general use of AIs to brainstorm with or to get feedback from and so on. But now that I changed jobs in October, and now I have access to Copilot, so for 365. So I tend to use that at times as well. And the way that they're dealing with it, I mean, and you can see also in Copilot that you can pick and choose a couple of different LLMs or the models underneath on that as well. I've been using GitHub Copilot a lot for coding. I have not used Claude Code yet. I have heard a lot of people talking good things about that, but I'm really fond of GitHub Copilot. But I'm also using JetBrains AI, for some things, because when I'm just doing pure Python or I'm working on things that are non-Microsoft, JetBrains, DataGrip and JetBrains Python IDE are really good, but they stop when I'm transferring things to Microsoft world. So when I'm asking it to make, okay, can you make this Python snippet into a Azure function? It will say, no, I can't, but you can use Visual Studio instead, or VS Code. And then I'll use VS Code with GitHub Copilot instead for that. And for agents, I'll be mentioning it or ranting or whatever a bit later on, but I've been using agents inside Teams a bit.
Okay.
So it's Copilot part.
Yeah. For which class?
Well, I will extol on that a bit later on.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
So hang in there, people. So we have 2 questions. So Tilia Paul, in Microsoft Fabric for AI-based data categorization in PySpark notebooks, when should we use an AI API and when should we build our own model? Good question.
I would say it depends.
It is a very much depends question.
Yeah, if you have the skills to build a model and tune it, you might come up with a better model than using something which is agnostic, right? An API is agnostic. They don't know, it can be specialized on your use cases. If you're just starting and need something and have not the capability to work together with a data scientist or being a data scientist yourself to meta tune everything, then the API would be the better choice. This would be my response to this question. How do you see that, Johan? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree. It really depends on your use cases and everything, and of course, using your own model if you have the skills for that might be more fun. And sometimes that's more important than effectiveness. Then we have another question. So from Sarah Youssef, is an agent able to create /code platform from A to Z with full security without human technical intervention? Ooh, no, I wouldn't say that it is able to do that from A to Z without any intervention.
We're struggling with smaller tasks, and to be honest.
Yeah.
Right? If you ask for like a SQL procedure to create something, this might be a little bit shaky code-wise, and it's just one procedure with one certain task, right? So if you build a whole platform, it can be tricky.
My experience with the LLMs are that they aren't very good at SQL because it's not the kind of language that have automated testing and so on involved. So it hasn't learned that much when it's reading from GitHub and so on. But
with Python the same, right? You get Python code, and if you put it just there to run it to get a smoke test, and then you fall from one syntax error to the next because it's like putting function names and methods which are not existent, or including libraries which do not exist. So like, but just think on this small task, right, where we have like small task. Apparently the model's getting better, but asking for build a platform for me with whole security, right? I mean, security is always a bit gray and complicated. I can't think of this is possible right now. Maybe like 6 months, 5 years, whatever. Maybe it will be. Currently, we are away from that.
Yeah, I would definitely not trust an AI to do that, and especially with the full security part. But in general, no. My experience when it comes to creating code with AI, I can ask it to do, as you say, snippets. Create this function or this Python function. Right, okay. I will take that function, I'll bring it to the next step, create a wrapping around that for an Azure function. And then I want to deploy it, and I want to test it, and so on. So yes, baby steps preferably.
Yes.
So, have you done any automation of repetitive tasks with AI?
Depends on what you mean there, like translation things, which could be repetitive. Yes, I did, because again, the LLMs, they're really good in languages. So if you ask for translating things or finding duplicates or whatever, so this could be sort of an automation, because I don't sit down and translate things manually, but it does it for me. but automatic repetitive jobs, not. No.
Not yet. My dream is first sometime when I have time. I want to create an agent that monitors my inbox for all invites.
Mm-hmm.
And if I see an invite from when somebody has obviously ignored my calendar and just sent me an invite for a times I'm busy anyways, I want to block them from inviting me next time.
That would be nice, agent. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very sorry. You are not allowed to invite Johan to any meetings unless he's actually free in his calendar for the next half year.
Yeah.
So
That would make
passive-aggressive
life easier.
politeness.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
I mean,
no follow about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not that big a problem for you in your in small company.
No.
My current company is also smaller, so it's not that big of an issue. But when I was working in one of the large consultancies, it tended to happen several times a week, and it's quite
Yeah.
annoying. So
Double booked or three times booked on the same time. Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine.
yeah. So would be nice, at least the people that you know can see on your calendar, that they will actually be polite enough to check it.
Yeah.
It's just
And
using
Outlook shows it to you, right? I mean, this is not.
Yeah.
Very,
or maybe we can
very tough
even
skill.
better. We can actually implement an agent for them that automatically checks whether the meeting invites are available or not.
Yeah. Find a spot for those.
Probably a bit more polite.
Yeah, suggesting something. Yeah. Point to the other agent, right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh yeah. So yeah, personally, I haven't done any specific workflows or automation changes. What I do see though is that I'm not necessarily the most organized person when it comes to meetings and so on. I mean, stereotypical male thing, maybe that if I'm taking notes in a meeting, I lose track of what you're saying, and vice versa. And so I've really become very fond of the what's now called the facilitator in Teams. So that's an agent.
Yeah. I've seen this. Yeah.
Because that takes notes for you. I mean, it does some things very horrible. So one thing it does is that it names, for instance. I had a meeting about something called heartbeat today, and it called it hard beats instead.
Okay.
Always.
Okay,
and it mentioned the name Teresa several times, and there was no mention of Teresa anywhere because that's not part of my team. So I don't know where it got that from, but yeah. But at the same time, it does give me the notes for the session.
Yeah.
And then I can read through that and okay, yeah, this is completely off the rocks, but this is quite useful, or this is something. And then I can ask, pull that into Copilot afterwards, and say, okay, can you make tasks for me and put them into my planner? And it can.
Yeah. That's really
of course,
astounding,
yeah, and of course it is managed in a way that I will have to ask it for each of these tasks and approve that they're added. But that at the same time, it means that, yeah, I just read through and say, yes, this seems good. I can even set some deadlines on those, which saves me a ton of time because I speak a lot. I'm not, as I mentioned, I'm not very good at note taking, and then this will help me.
Yeah. At least have like some basis, right?
So yeah. I'm getting older. My memory will probably fail at some time as well. So it's
yeah, good that we have those tools now.
It's horrible. But yeah, so Marcus, what are you excited about? On the AI
shall I pull out my demo and demonstrate some things which I'm
actually,
excited
you
about?
forgot about the demos, yeah.
Yes. So maybe Larissa can change to my screen. So So what I like prepared, like things I just used recently, right? There's like this new thing called calendar feature in Power BI. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Doesn't really, it's not very important if you know the feature, but I came up with this prompt for, I asked for please create a date table which has all the columns in there with the new calendar feature features. And I will be pointing it out where it can find some examples. So it tells me then what it will do, and it actually comes up with a clear duck statement where it can have all those columns in there to create this calendar table. And I really liked it because I use calendar tables a lot. So let's jump over to the new thing. Yeah. Why didn't I open this before? I should have done this. And I can just paste in this new calendar table, modeling. So it works here, modeling, and then jump to new table and paste this DAX code, right? And I would be able to write this on my own, but sitting down to all the columns could be like hard to do. And as mentioned, it's the same prompt I did yesterday, it's the same prompt I did today, the same prompt I did like on the weekend before this week. And the code that comes up with is a little bit different all the time. So this time it hallucinated about a here function. And what we can do here, so this is like exciting for me, different all the time. So I can then tell this there is no day of year function, then it will apologize, right? That's what we expect here. No, I do not want to sign in. Yes, that's corrected, and then come up with another thing. So sometimes it can be faster to use those tools. Sometimes it can be time craving because you have then to interact with the tool until you get the whole prompt here. I also have seen this coming up with way more columns. I'm not sure why it's not just coming up with those columns and not more columns. It's changing all the time. And that is the question sometimes, shall I build this in DAX or in Power Query? It's very easy, like to just copy everything here again and then ask it, please, I don't want to build a date table in DAX, but please put this into M, right? So convert this code to Power Query M, right? And then either put in here then or just referring to the thing before. So this is things I use to generate code, to generate things in different languages, which I'm capable of. So I'm standing, I can see, I can spot the errors, but I'm way faster, not sitting down, like demonstrating or like writing the whole code for all those columns, but just ask the Copilot for it. So this is something I enjoy using.
Yeah, you can also, if you're dealing with architecture, you can get an architecture drawing as an image, and then you can upload that, and can you analyze which resource groups are here, which resources are being used, and so on, and it will list them up for you.
Exactly.
Of course, sometimes it will hallucinate, but mostly at least it will get you started.
Yeah. Or another thing here, yeah, we could convert this. Another thing which I was inspired, I think I saw this as an idea from SQL Gene, just to point him out, which is a brilliant
he's going
idea.
to be, he's doing the same session later today.
He does, together with Mike, right? Exactly.
Yep.
So if you have time for that, sure, he will show tremendous things here. So what I'm asking here is, please give me a list of all the tables used in the following SQL code. Of course, I could do this my own, right? I can read the SQL code. I know what a table reference is, but like just putting it there, and I get this very nice documentation. Tell me what kind of schemas are used in here, what kind of tables are used there. For example, the basic before you migrate things to Fabric or in Databricks or out of Databricks or whatever. So this could also be a very nice use case, which is easy to do, sweet spot, and then off you go, right, with this list, and then know what kind. For example, then do an prediction how long it will take, right, to transfer this database there, because now I know at least how many tables we're talking about. Then we can also ask how many different columns are in there. So I get like this numbers out of that without reading pages of SQL code, which is like annoying. I can use these tools for that. So this is a really nice idea.
I ran that same prompt through Copilot just to compare. So Copilot 365, and it also told me these are tables that are being dropped. Because there's a drop table, there are several drop table commands in that section as well.
It even tells more about that, in my example. Or another thing, I mean, I can denormalize tables. If you put a star schema, right, the dimension tables should be denormalized. But if you're not so sure about how to do all these joins, I can just put in the three tables I'm talking about here. This is the product tables, just using the code there, jumping to my ChatGPT and then, or Copilot or Claude or Gemini, whatever. And then it will like come up with, oh no, this is not the denormalizing. I put the other one, building up like a slowly changing dimension type 2. Is this? Yeah. And then come up with like the code, how you can then do the update statement, the insert statement. What I'm not really happy with is it only does the changes. So if something does not change or is not available anymore in the source code, I had troubles to like direct it to this, or I like had this fantasy in my mind that I say, please, yeah, the null values are not done there, but we're running out of time. But for example, please write a SQL procedure which uses dynamic SQL, passing into parameters to build this automatically for any given table. And this did not work, for example. So maybe I have to rewrite prompts here just to point out things were going well, other things not going very well. This I didn't really succeed. Maybe, as mentioned, I need to specify more things or spend more time on this prompt to get things run here.
Yeah, but I think I think it's also important to remember that there are because you're now only using the free version of ChatGPT. There are other language models that are better at code than ChatGPT is, and because SQL is not the one of the big languages, it might be doing better at Python with ChatGPT or something like that. But if you are going to invest into learning a bit, I would recommend going for a service that will allow you to use a bit different LLMs to try out and test.
Yeah. And they were changing, right? Because they're upgrading the models. So there might be differences now, and the difference might be different in the future. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's like
so
changing.
Test around a bit, play around a bit with different. You can even use different free versions of Claude, and so that's Anthropic or Gemini or Grok if you want.
Yeah,
and it's basically see which one handles the type of languages and queries that you like or use the most best, because they are different. They are trained different, and they have different focus in mind when they're developing these.
And you can use those tools also as like as a sparring partner to find out like what are use cases for pie charts, right? I think now in the chat everything will go up, right? And then it will come up with a list of things, Word works good or better. Or sometimes if I read those things, I think the bar chart is even as good too. And then you can ask them, can you compare the pie chart with the bar chart when we would choose which one? And this can give you ideas, right? So this is also a really, really good idea to use those, because they can generate text, right? It's not always correct. It sounds definitely smart. It's not always smart because it's not always correct. But this is what you can also do with those models to like get ideas, discuss things, so to speak, before you then discuss with other people as a Copilot.
Yeah, or you can also use them, and I've used them that way because, I mean, an analyst tends to be in the juxtaposition between the tech and the business. So you need to talk with both people. And you might be on the tech side personally, which means that you might struggle a bit with getting the business side to understand what you're saying, and vice versa. So putting in a description that you've written, for instance, for my part, a good argument for why you should use this, use Fabric. And the business side will say, well, I don't care. My focus is on what is in it for me, for my business. And so I can go to Copilot or to whatever assistant and say, okay, can you make this text, take this text and make it so that a business user will understand it? And it will then try to derive the benefit of the business in a language that is closer to what they will understand than what you would typically write. So that's also very helpful. And again, read through it. Please don't just send it off. Make sure that you have somebody else. If you're not quite familiar with it or comfortable with it, get somebody else to have a second pair of eyes on it. But yeah, I've used it very successfully in translating my more tech-related or tech-close language to a more business-close language, as well
I
as
think we're running out of time. I
sparring
think
and
we have to sum it up
brainstorming.
before they kick
Yeah.
us out.
Oh yeah, we're at 1 hour already. Right. So should we change back again to the
Yes.
slides? And then, okay, we'll just skip the excited about because we've been excited all the full hour, I think. Lessons learned and hot tips. Think about prompt styles. You don't necessarily have to be very specific or like a wizard in describing your prompts, but at least make sure that you're very concise if you want it to be good. Think about AI for coding. Use different tools for coding than for brainstorming or as a personal assistant. All of them are working really well. And on Power BI side, Patrick LeBlanc and Phil Seamark has actually come out with a video now of how to create custom Power BI visuals with AI and Copilot. And you can see that link here, aka.ms/pbi/customviz. Should be a fun video to watch. And on that, key takeaways, I think we can say for sure that AI can help you. It will not replace you. That's my key takeaway. Anything from your side, Marcus?
Yes, it can be very helpful. If you have a certain level of expertise, it's just speeding up what you can do with that. But don't trust it fully if you don't know enough about some topic or language or whatever. That's the key takeaway I would give you.
That's good advice. So on that topic, let's say that remind people that there will be live in 2 time zones, available on demand, Fabric Data Days every month going forward. And as you can see here, these are the sessions. There are 3 left in January and February. And then reminder that you have the World Championship running. We are now in the 2nd round of the preliminaries, and the finals will be on FabCon. And here again, important, sign up for the free certification voucher. And on that note, we are done. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Marcus. It was a pleasure to talk with you as always.
As always, thank you very much. Likewise, yeah. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcos. Thank you, Johan, for the content today. And thank you all for being with us. Thank you for watching our live session. And at the Reactor, we are always looking to improve your experience. So if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear what you have to say. You can find the link for the survey on the screen or in the chat. And we'll see you in the next one.